Oh, hi. This week, we're gonna hit the reset button a little bit. I have a couple things to share with you, including like updates. I have perhaps a question for y'all. I've been meaning to clean my sewing room for months now, to be honest, and like clean out my machine, oil my scissors, clean those off, all of those kinds of tasks that just get away from me for way too long every time. I think because everything's going to be noisy, vacuuming, stuff like that, and this way I can listen to tunes really loud because there's nothing like listening to classic rock while cleaning things. Well, that's going to be really noisy. So I will have that playing over me rambling at you for a little bit and just talking about what I've been up to, how I've been feeling, how things are going, plans for the future, asking for your thoughts on some things. And yeah, at the end, I'll show you everything that I made the past couple days. So to start, this is not the worst my sewing room has looked, but there's a lot of little stuff everywhere. And like I said, I haven't done that deep cleaning in a while where I gotta like disinfect everything. Where, especially when I'm building inventory, I do try and disinfect all the surfaces I'm using as I go, but everything behind my machine, there's a bunch of dust. Inside my machine, I don't even know what's going on in there. I cannot get myself to focus on any new projects until this is all done. Hence why this video is happening in the first place. And I assume if you're anything like me, you maybe also haven't thought about oiling your scissors or wiping them down at least at all this year because it's somehow June of 2022 and I don't understand time anymore. The one spot I'll let myself off the hook for is Bert's cat tent and the dog bed that he sits in the cat tent upon. There's something about that specific kind of fleece. It's like a magnet for all of the debris that is produced from being in a sewing room. So the thread and like little bits of fluff just embed themselves in, so no amount of washing, lint rolling, and just sitting and picking stuff out will ever get it fully back to its original state. So I've come to terms with that. There is still some cleaning to do because I sewed a lot the past handful of days. Which actually also reminds me, I definitely need to change the needle on my machine as well because that is well overdue and I definitely had it come in contact with the pin while I was making some things. So it's time to swap that out. I'm definitely one of those people that when I clean, I end up taking all day to do it because I will sit and flip through like a photo album that I found while I'm cleaning off a bookshelf and just like go through every single little thing. So I'm not gonna clean out every single bin that I can see because all of that is still pretty much organized and not anything I've been using recently, where we're mostly tackling surfaces and the inside of the tools and machinery we've been using, which I should also clean out the serger, huh? Everything deserves some TLC. So I'm not necessarily going to be reorganizing anything and more doing some maintenance, and there's a couple spots that need some like deep cleaning, but everything's probably going to go back where it is. Though I may change my mind. We'll see how everything ends up at the end of this. So I think I'm going to start by cleaning the scissors, which just involves taking sewing machine oil, wiping everything down. I don't want to get anything new stuck on here, and I can't oil all of the scissors, but I have some really nice pairs that I don't do any maintenance on. And question for any of y'all that may be left-handed, any of the scissor sharpeners that I found are only for right-handed scissors. I found like little tiny handheld ones and then ones that are like on a stand and they only work for right-handed scissors. I don't know if there's a left-handed option. I haven't been able to find any. I know Fiskars has like a variety of options for right-handed scissors, but I haven't seen a single goddamn thing for left-handed ones. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. But in the meantime, I can keep these clean and get all the fluff off of them and make them open and close as smooth as possible. Next, I'm gonna clean out the serger because, as you know, if you have one, it just creates all of the fluff because it cuts the edge of the fabric as well as stitches stuff. So I'm just gonna take all of the thread spools off, take the brush that comes with the machine, and then I'll help get most of the stuff. I know you're not supposed to blow into here and you're supposed to go with like canned air, but I don't have any of that, so I'm gonna blow into my machine because no one's here to tell me not to. And then I'm gonna wait to rethread the serger until I've decided what my next sewing project's gonna be. I have a million that are on the cutting table ready to go that I haven't actually proceeded with. I don't want the color of the serger thread to determine what I end up working on, so I'll tackle that when the time comes. Which, who knows, could be later today. That'd be nice, huh, if I got around to that. It has been so humid here that, yes, it was cooler yesterday, but the humidity was at like 90-something%. Just walking to the bathroom and then back to my sewing room was enough for me to be pouring sweat, Like I had to take a shower just to be less sticky. Have I mentioned how much I don't like summer? I'm gonna try to keep the bitching to a minimum, but today's much more comfortable. The humidity has dropped and it's like 60 degrees right now. So I will take 8 more weeks of this weather if I could, and why I'm taking advantage of the day and doing all of this cleaning, because I don't think I could get myself to do it otherwise. So it's gonna be like 97 degrees Fahrenheit and 80+% humidity on Friday, and that is hell for me. So I'm not gonna also make myself do kind of the more tedious menial tasks. Anyways, once I had tackled the serger, I went right over to the sewing machine. The main issue is all of the fluff that gets gunked up in the bobbin casing area. So I'm gonna take out as much of this as I can. I really like going in with just a paintbrush. For some reason, certain texture bristles really grab the fluff and do a deeper clean than like the brushes that come with the sewing machines. And also some good old tweezers. It has probably been longer than I am even thinking since I've done this, so there's a sufficient amount of fluff going on in here. So I'm actually going to take some of the screws out so I can really get deep in the bowels of my sewing machine and get everything out of here. I haven't broken any needles recently, and I haven't broken any pins that I didn't still have fully intact. They were just bent. So I don't need to go digging for needle bits like I have had to do in the past, and we're actually like messing up the timing on the machine, but I solved it myself with the help of my friend Crafty Grant. I'll link to their channel over here because they're just a miracle worker, even virtually, and I just enjoy their content so goddamn much. But yeah, they walked me through on a video call and made it much less scary. The thing is, I was gonna bring it to a sew and back and pay for someone to do this kind of maintenance for me, because this is kind of all they do. At least for what my issue was, this is all they would have done. If I messed it up trying to do it on my own, then I could have brought it to the sew and back and they could have fixed it once there was a real issue. But I managed to just do it on my own and it was fine. And it's been working even better than it was before now that I've properly cleared everything out. And because almost everything on this is plastic, this isn't one of those industrial Singer machines or anything. There's not really much that you need to oil on this. I am going to dab a little bit in these couple of spots, and then I'm going to go back to my serger and also dab this one part where like there's metal on metal, because again, there's not a ton of places you need to oil on these machines. Whereas the machine I'm trying to save up for is a fully metal industrial Juki machine, and you need to put like a fucking gallon of sewing machine oil in the basin for those. But it also comes with its own table, so it's like it's set up for that, and then you don't need to think about oiling it regularly, and I just miss using that kind of machine. So I want that very badly, and one day I'm gonna have it. That's the current goal, is working towards that. So anyway, I have learned from getting really irritated in the past that when I am cleaning things, I try to work almost like a top-down method. Machines sit on top of the desk, so I'm trying to get all the stuff out of the machine. So anything that may fall onto the desk and create a new mess, that surface it's falling onto has not been cleaned yet. So once the machines are taken care of, pulling everything off of the desk and wiping all of that down, I have this Lysol spray that's a disinfectant, as well as these little wipes, and this seems to be getting the job done and is drying quick. This is the other upside of it not being so humid today, is things are actually going to dry, because I mopped yesterday and the floor just never fully dried, so I couldn't actually put the area rugs back down, and I was very grumpy about it. But then cleaning that type of surface generally gets stuff to fall onto the floor, and that is why I'm waiting to vacuum until last, so that I don't have to end up doing it twice. And it is a bit of a pain when you have a ton of threads all over the place. So I'm not going to crouch down and pick all the threads up individually, but they will wrap around the bar of the vacuum. Thankfully, this one just detaches, so I can take all of that off to start with. And I don't have such thick thread or so much of it that it's gonna wreck anything. It just makes it a little bit of a pain in the ass to then maintain the vacuum at the end of the process. Then actually, the one thing I forgot to tackle until afterwards is I have this little storage cubby in the corner here, and I went to take one of my chalk pens out of there and realized there was something very sticky at the bottom of this container, and I'm sure it's just from like a Freight Check bottle or something like that. It got everything gooey and I wanted to die while I was using that stuff, so I cleaned the one I was using, but I need to actually scrub all of this out and make sure that I'm not getting everything else sticky going forward. And other than just doing a couple last minute tidies, I think my shop is officially reset and ready to go. All right, so the things I would like to talk about involve, you know, some mental health discussions, where obviously if you've been paying attention even a little bit, which honestly I can't handle keeping up with a lot of the news the past few years at this point, I am just much more sensitive than I used to think, I guess, or things are worse, I don't know, but it's like genuinely too much and I completely check out. I am like full dissociation, not really in here anymore. I feel like I'm on autopilot and I just can't handle existing like that all the time. So for my own self-preservation, I know it's a very entitled and privileged place where I can kind of check out of stuff, and I feel like a constant disappointment by doing this. But even with all the like precautions I take for myself, things still get to be too much sometimes. So as happened this past month where I took a week off because like I just couldn't cope. Someone that's been putting a video out a week for years, at least for the near future, I don't feel like that is quite as sustainable as it has felt in the past. And I know I tend to have a harder time with summers because it's much busier for me as far as like my other jobs, and it's usually the part of the year where I get to go see friends or they're coming home from out of town to visit, so I have much less time to myself, and that puts me in a worse position as far as making the videos happen. Because if I'm in a bad headspace and I'm working at one of my part-time jobs where I do very repetitive kind of thoughtless sewing where I'm just hemming a million pairs of pants, like I can handle kind of checking out and taking care of that stuff, but I need to be more with it when I'm doing videos and sewing projects, like enjoying the process and actually making something worth sharing. Where when I try to force stuff, I hate it. I usually don't even end up posting those videos that I have filmed when I'm in that headspace, and I would imagine y'all wouldn't enjoy it as much. And I'm sure in years past I have put those kinds of videos out and they tend to do worse. Not that I try to look at the analytics almost ever, because also bad for my brain. Those are obviously things that seem to get watched less, which I assume means they are less enjoyable. Could be wrong, could just be like odd timing every time I've posted one like that, but I feel like it's off, and I feel like y'all can feel that it's off. So in light of these thoughts I've been having, I wanted to know how y'all felt, especially Patreon folks, because you are essentially paying me to do this job, and I don't want anybody to like regret supporting me in that way. And if you feel like this plan I'm about to suggest is not what you were looking for in donating to my Patreon and supporting me there, then like I totally get it, because expectations maybe aren't getting met in the way that they were before. So I would like to propose taking a page out of Rachel Maxey's book and taking 1 week off a month. So it's not going to be every other week or anything like that. I'm not going to go a whole month without posting, but just giving myself the option to take a week off. But I think it would do a lot for my own mental health, as well as if there's a project that's just more time intensive that I can't get done in a week, but I feel like either I need to rush that along to get a video out, or pause that production so that I can work on a quicker project to get that video out. I won't have to do that kind of trade-off and never get around to the more time-consuming project. I can just dedicate the time to working on that. And that way I won't have to rush through certain editing sessions if there's like a longer video or it's just like a more involved edit. And then it also gives me time to kind of learn those programs a little bit better, because I have such a limited window to get them done that I kind of just keep it at that bare minimum amount of jump cut editing that I do. Where I've upgraded a couple things here and there, like the intros are better, and I think the B-roll, the way I've been filming videos as of late, like the past year or two, I think it's a better format where like you're seeing more of what I'm doing and it's a little more concise. Maybe not concise, because I still ramble all of the time. You're actually seeing the whole process and better explanations / better footage of the steps happening, rather than me like holding up a thing, saying what I'm gonna do, shutting the camera off, turning away, doing the thing, and coming back with it done. The way I've been filming stuff is I get to show you what I'm doing when I'm turned around. So I think that is better, but it's a more time consuming way to do things, and I want them to be good. If y'all are not on board with this plan and you need something every week, please feel free to state it and we'll figure something out. I will make it work, but I just wanted to run it by everybody before I initiated that plan. Since I've already taken a week off for June, it wouldn't be till next month. Although actually, no, this is going out on July 1st, so I suppose it'll be sometime later this month. I'll try to give you a heads up the Friday before I take a week off, so you're not expecting it, because I post at noon every Friday, and I don't know if any of y'all are like waiting with bated breath for the video to go up, because sometimes I'm not even home and I've just like auto-posted posted everything ahead of time. So it's like scheduled to go up at noon. So I'm not always like checking in to see if anyone's like commented or so. I don't know when y'all are watching it basically, but I've had a hard time meeting that deadline the past handful of weeks, and that break helped a lot. I'm very appreciative for having had that week off, and that was definitely an indicator for maybe I should make that a more regular thing where I'm just forever racked with guilt for doing anything that is not above and beyond. Anyway, I feel like I'm over explaining it because I'm anxious about even like bringing this up. I feel like I'm doing something wrong by even asking. So yeah. Anyways, as far as things that I did get done, as I mentioned, I rage sewed a lot this past weekend because of things, and I just had a bunch of music going. I listened to a couple podcasts and just hammered out a bunch of bags, and I really haven't had it in me to make anything for my Etsy shop in months and months and months. And I know, as we have talked about in previous videos, that Etsy, I have issues with it. I participated in the strike. That was back in April or May. But yeah, after my last bag launch I did at the beginning of the year, I cut out a ton of fabric. I pressed everything. I picked out matching fabric to do the color blocking and the matching zippers. I interfaced everything. I pressed everything into shape, like all of the wristbands and all of the zipper tabs, all of those little prep stages that you can do before you actually sit at the sewing machine. I did all of that, and now that pile of fabric has been sitting around for months, haunting my sewing table, and that is also part of why I want to like clean everything, is because I have half of my sewing table back because it took up a lot of space, but I wanted to keep it in my periphery so that I would keep seeing it and be like, hey, you should do these. But then I just got this overwhelming pressure, like, I can't get them all done in a day, so there's no point in doing any of these. Well, because sewing can be a form of therapy for me. And I was not in a space where I wanted to be around people on like Friday, Saturday. I made sure all of my other like chores and tasks were taken care of first thing in the morning. And then I just spent the entire rest of each of those days just completely in the zone, fully absorbed in bag making. And I got a lot of satisfaction out of doing all of these. So even if they don't end up selling in my shop, I wanted to show you all the stuff I had made because I'm really proud of it. And just to share, like, putting these together got me through the past handful of days because it's been a shit show and it's been really hard, and it was reassuring to know, right, it's cool if I could like help pay my rent by selling these bags, but also they've already served a purpose for me, which is saved my mind and heart from completely collapsing into a black hole. I am very grateful for this hobby, still feeling like a hobby to me sometimes, as well as being one of my jobs, and I think that is the coolest thing, and I will never not be grateful for it for as long as this ends up lasting. And as I mentioned earlier, it's because of everybody over on Patreon that this kind of stuff is something I even get to do in the first place, where if it weren't for y'all, I wouldn't have been able to take the time off of just the rest of life, putting everything else on pause so that I could just hole up in here for a couple days and knock all of this stuff out. I wouldn't have had that window of time without that support. So thank you so fucking much for that, because it literally saved my sanity and has done countless numbers of times in the past. So, ooh, and speaking of, okay, so I sent out the Mailtime Patreon perk goodies this morning. I made a thing. I'm gonna wait to share it. I actually may share the process of how I made it in the future. If everyone's okay with it, I'll let them decide though. But I made something that I have always thought was super cool, especially from like the DIY punk scene, but I never thought I was capable of doing, and I just let myself do it, where the only person stopping me from it was me, which seems to be the case in a lot of situations. And I'm so goddamn proud of what I created. So again, I'll share it down the road. I know I'm being cryptic, but I don't want to spoil the surprise for anybody that's about to receive it, and I want them to have the final say in me sharing the process with y'all or not. And I do have some updating of my fashion journal that I need to update. And listen, I still haven't made most of the garments that I've sketched out and like planned in this journal. So these are all things on my cutting table that I desperately want to tackle as soon as possible. And these are the kinds of things that if I have an extra week once a month, that's the kind of stuff that I can finally get done and like take the time to sort out. And in addition to keeping up with this, I have 2 pages I got to put together with some new sketches that I've sorted out. One is my Creeping Death shirt that I made a couple of weeks ago. I just never put that in here for some reason, but I have the artwork printed out, and then I just did a new sketch last night for a dress that I would love to make this afternoon. We'll see if time allows for that or not. not, but I really like having the idea down and I feel extra motivated to do the thing. I also spent some time yesterday updating my swatch notebook situation where I did move it over to this little binder. I was using it for like a bullet journal type situation and I just can't keep up with that. I have a wall calendar that I've been changing out every month and updating, and it being on the wall, visible, I walk by it multiple times a day. That's what I need, where I don't always grab this kind of thing or have it with me. That feels like too much. But I have purchased some new fabric recently, slash like new to me fabric, and I did actually go through and catalog the new stuff yesterday. So this is up to date. I also took out a swatch card of fabric that I had already used up, the flamingo fabric from a couple weeks ago. This has also been maintained, and I'm very proud of myself because it was starting to get away from me a little bit, and the settled feeling it has given me having this sorted out, and I'm sure the same thing will happen once I sort this out. This helps me feel calmer, and that is also part of why like the shop reset has been helpful. It's just calming the brain down. Clean floor. I'm not like constantly staring at all the thread balls that are down here anymore. My desk isn't full of fluff either. I have no concerns about there being sticky chalk pencils happening, and I won't keep thinking for the next couple weeks, man, I gotta clean out my sewing machine. Oh, when I get a second, I should clean out my sewing machine. Once I'm done this project, I should clean out my sewing machine. That has been a repeating thing in my brain, and I know it's probably gonna start happening again in a couple months, but I will have finally cleaned the fucking sewing machine, so everything feels a little bit quieter in my brain, and I feel that much more capable of doing the next project, whatever that ends up being. So thank you all so much for spending this time with me. I hope these updates were interesting. Please let me know your thoughts about the new schedule idea that I have in taking 1 week off a month. And yeah, I know I tried to get away from Etsy, and I did spend a lot of time trying to build a Square website, and I don't have it in me right now, where maybe I'll take another stab at it down the road, but it just doesn't feel like it's worth it at the moment. So if you would like any of these bags, they are live on my Etsy shop now. I had overhauled all my packaging with the last round of bags I made, so I still have like all the nice new stuff to use, and I think that's gonna do it for me. If you have a before and after of your shop, if this did inspire you to maybe do some cleaning, or even just you want to take a satisfying picture of the sewing machine fluff balls. It may be gross to some, but I love seeing that kind of stuff. Feel free to share on, tag me on Instagram or Twitter or in the Discord. If you're not part of the Discord yet, but you would like to join, it's free. Everyone over on Patreon opened it up to everybody. Just message me somewhere like Instagram or Twitter or even an email, and I will send you the invite link. I just do not have any tolerance for trolls other than us bog trolls. So it is for my own sanity and hopefully the safety and sanity of everybody else that is not just open to the public in that particular capacity. So I'm sorry it's that like extra step for y'all to have to message me to get it, but that I'm not constantly anxious about someone who's not really part of the community jumping in and wreaking havoc. So yeah. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for me. I will be back here next Friday with another video. Thank you so much for hanging out.